everybody. My name is Cynthia. I am recording to continue on as a continuation to the previous video I shared where excuse me, shared about my childhood. And I ran out of storage space, so that video was cut short, but I feel like that was not purposeful by me, of course, but like I think there was a reason for that, so I decided to leave it. At first, I was trying to figure out how to edit it, but fuck it, I just left it. Okay, so I also want to say that the things that I share may or may not be for everybody, and that's okay. I feel like the people who are meant to hear what I have to say will hear what I have to say and hear all of what I say. If it feels right for them, it might be for you or it might not if it resonates or for whatever reason. Okay, so in my last video, I left off after we entered Mexico. We were going to live with my grandma, and I said some things about my grandma to give an idea of like how why she was the way that was. She passed away a few years ago. Um, she lived her life with a lot of pain, a lot of sadness and regret. She was a very bitter woman, but she was really sweet too, at least to me. She could be mean, dude. She could be really mean and scary. But she loved me. I remember when I was little, you know, we would write each other, which was the best. I just loved her so much. And she appreciated my love, and I think that, well, I was her first grandchild. Well, it's her second grandchild. I have one older cousin from my tia, which is my grandma had two daughters and a son. My mom is the second oldest. Okay, so when we got into Mexico and we were we went and ultimately went to go live with her, which was, it was like a whole thing because it was great. My grandma was very welcoming. She loved us, but she had her own ways. She was old already, older. I'm not really sure how old she was actually. She must have been really young, as a matter of fact, because she had kids like at the same age my mom did at four. Like my mom had me before she turned 15. But fuck, that's crazy, dude. Oh my goodness. Anyways, we moved to my grandma's house. And there were times that my grandma would just lose it and she would be so mean. She'd be mean to my mom and or to my sister. My sister, my mom's second oldest, so not my youngest sister. I remember there was this one time that she was washing the dishes, my little sister. And we were little. I was 15 and my sister was like 13. And she's tiny, okay? And my grandma was like having a bad day or something. She was being really mean to her. And my sister was washing the dishes and my grandma was like behind her yelling at her and she started to smack her. And oh my God, I told my grandma, like, that was the first time I confronted my grandma in not unloving, but not like protective. Like the first time I stood up against her for mistreating my sister that way. And I don't recall her mistreating her or treating her like that again. But this one time when she was doing that, I told her, don't hit her like that. She's washing dishes. And then she turned it. She turned the anger on me. She started smacking me. She did smack my sister a few times, and she yelled at me and she told me that if I was gonna talk to her like that to get out, and she ran me out of the house. It was really late. It was late. Okay, it was dark outside, and I ran all the way to the street, middle of the street, which was, I mean, it was tiny, a tiny walk. She had a tiny front yard and a tiny house. And she would like she was just really picky, and so things made her upset. And we were there for like 2 years before my mom thought got the great idea of us moving out. Which happened when I was like 15. Whoa, wait. It didn't take us 2 years to move out. It took us less than that, 2 months maybe. I don't think we were there for very long. Anyways, my mom had money saved up. Okay, money really goes a long way in Mexico from American money. But it took her a minute to figure out that we could just. My mom had land out there. She had land, a piece of land out there for years, which had nothing on it, just land in a field. And it took her some time to discover that people in Mexico build houses. They build their own house on their own piece of land. So she did that, um, which she ultimately sold to our neighbor. But our neighbor let us, what's it called? I don't know if my mom sold the land, or her piece of land, and then our neighbor who had land right next to hers, or she had her own land where she had already built like a little brick room. It was like two brick rooms. That's it. No restroom, no kitchen, nothing. Just two rooms attached to each other made of brick on this little piece of land in the middle of an empty town. Or neighborhood, actually. Not an empty town, empty neighborhood in this town. Really far away from where we were living at my grandma's. And my mom used some of her money to build onto this neighbor's house, 2 rooms on her property. Yes, I think that's why she sold her land, my mom, to be able to build on this. I guess we were, I don't know, dude. I was young. I just know that the 2 rooms belonged to our neighbor. So my memory is telling, well, naturally, I feel like the land was hers. But my mom had money to be able to build on it. So she, like, and this was like a shack, okay? It didn't turn into a house. I mean, it did. It was very cozy and very, like, it was, let me just say this. I experienced my very first, oh, I don't want to say awakening because I don't remember much after being so, like, I've experienced a few awakenings, okay, in my life. And the one after that was really life changing for me. But this this one was, oh my god, when I would remember that my first moment of feeling like my mind understands shit, like while we were living in this place, so my mom built onto it, but she didn't put a brick kitchen, a brick restroom. The ground in the restroom was cement. It was smooth, like shiny cement. It was very, very nice. The kitchen and the living room was a dirt floor, which I remember I liked a lot. Um, and we would wash dishes like out of a bucket. We had a working toilet. We got a working toilet, and I don't think we had a shower yet, so we had to fill tubs up with water and bathe ourselves. um, but we washed dishes out of a bucket. We did have a stove, and we had like a couch, I think. And I remember one time I got out the shower, dude, and there was two beds in our my bedroom because I shared a room with my sisters and stuff. And there was a fan, an extension cord, and a fan attached to it. Okay. I remember I got out the shower once and I went into the room. I usually go into the room like wrapped up in my towel. I had to air dry usually because I'm so big. I sweat a lot. So I went into the room and I was like still dripping wet, not like dripping, a lot of soaked wet, but my feet were still wet and there was still water dripping off of me. I went to it was the fan was on, so I went to unplug it with my wet feet. Oh my god. My mom was in the kitchen right next, like just on the other side of the door. And my door was not closed yet either. But I went to unplug the fan with my toes and I like got electrocuted. I was stuck to the electrical to the extension cord. And I can't scream or anything, so my mom had no idea. And I remember I like as I was aware that I'm being electrocuted or that I'm like stuck to the extension cord, I managed to be able to throw my weight back so that I could fall off of it since I couldn't like voluntarily control my appendages. And I fell onto the bed and I was like, started laughing and I was like, making all kinds of noises because I was in so much shock of what had just happened. I was like so unexpected, okay? I was not aware of that kind of shit. It was just an experience. And my mom was like, I told my mom, I don't think she asked. I told her. And she didn't seem to care, which is whatever, okay? Anyways, at some point after we were already living here, I remember there was a chair outside in the front. And there's nothing outside, okay? There was like houses out in the distance, not too far away. But there was like no neighbors or anything. And I went outside and the sun was like reaching sunset. It wasn't like setting or about to set. It was like making its way towards sunset still. So the sky was really open and really bright and like yellow orange. And I was sitting there and I was thinking about how comfortable and satisfied I felt and happy, true peace and joy inside myself in the comfort of our living situation. Like we finally had peace. And I felt so much gratitude and this is when I learned to this is the moment that learned or felt like my body filled with gratitude for my stepdad being in my life, which I mentioned in my previous video. I don't know what thoughts led to that as I was sitting in this chair that day, but it came to me and I felt so much gratitude. Eventually, my mom sent me to Arizona. So I spent my the rest of my freshman year of high school in this little town, Costa Rica, in Mexico. And I fucking flunked. Okay. So the schools over there, education's not free in Mexico. You have to pay for educate your children, every one of them. You have to pay for them to be able to go to school, and you have to pay for all their books. And they don't get free lunch in Mexico. You have to pay every single day for your child to be able to eat at school if you don't prepare them lunch. And which is just so awful. I remember thinking to myself, damn, like, my mom would only give us 10 pesos between me and my sister. And food, it was 13 pesos for one plate of food. Okay, we couldn't get shit. And, I mean, we were not old. I recognized this when I would be at school and I'd be hungry and they made, like, the same shit every day, like quesadillas with beans. Oh my god, but like the best. the best meat. They would put meat in their quesadillas, the best cheese, and the beans were so good all the time. So, oh man, I really felt the inability to not be able to eat because I didn't have enough food because my mom had no idea what it was like to be a kid in school in this time because maybe she did back in the day or maybe she didn't. I don't know. But but in school, if you're not in class, okay, because people go on breaks in between classes, right? Like transitioning to your next class because you get a different teacher for each subject, but the students don't switch rooms. The teachers come to your room. And if you're not in the room by the time the teacher gets there, you have to ask for permission to come in when you finally make it to your class. And the teacher can choose to reject you or let you in. And I didn't I had a really hard time understanding the literature and the books. So I did bad. I couldn't like I just couldn't understand my classes. And I don't remember really, I just couldn't understand. It's not because I didn't know how to read Spanish or how to read a letter in Spanish or article in Spanish and not understand it. It's just that the literature in the books and when I was in my freshman year in Mexico, it was really hard for me to comprehend what the fuck I was supposed to be learning or picking up. I don't know what it was. But I did excel in two classes, being math. Oh my god, that's where I discovered how good I was at math, which I'm really good. I'm really, 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 really good at math. And my teacher loved me, okay? There was one time that we took a test and the teachers in Mexico can be mean, okay? Nobody gives a shit. And our math teacher was mean. And I remember one time we took a test and he was talking shit to everybody after the test was done and graded and stuff. And then I was sitting at the front of the class by the front door, at one of the desks by the front door, and he was talking shit to everybody and he's saying, "Why can't you guys be more like her?" And he pointed at me and I was like, "Dude." I mean, I really, it felt good that he really was impressed by my intelligence. Okay, I was, I'm very, very talented, I guess, or I just have a really good. I'm blessed with a good brain, with a good mind. Thank goodness, because this is something that I've come to realize several times in my lifetime so far, and still continue to realize when I forget or have long forgotten or it's not something that's presently in my mind as it once was several times in my life. And the other class that I excelled at was English. That was automatic 10. I didn't even have to go into that class and I got a 10 for my grades every time it mattered. So a lot of my time I didn't even go to class because I couldn't understand it. And I mean, it was really pointless. I wasn't passing them. So I flunked ninth grade, okay? I was not going to proceed to 10th grade. Before 10th grade started, my mom made the choice to send me back to Arizona. Me and my sister back to Arizona to live with her sister, my tia Brenda. And my tia Brenda was she's not anymore, thank goodness. I'm so grateful. But she was really bitter too. She was really bitter, really strict, really mean, really closed minded. And she could be crazy too, shit. Like, fuck, she was harsh, okay, when I was young. And she had a lot of resentment towards my mom, and my mom's children look a lot like her, including myself. I look so much like my mom, and we all do. Okay, so only my younger sister and my younger brother have the same dad. My other sister has her dad, and I have my dad, so three dads. And so we all look different from each other, but we also all look like my mom. Okay, we have very adamant facial features of my mom and personality traits. Straight up. So it's a good thing that my mom is the way. I mean, it's a blessing. And my tia had a lot of resentment towards my mom, but the reason my tia was so hard in her like life, in her, I can't imagine it was easy for her to live in so much misery and always being so unhappy. I mean, I don't think she was always like that. I know that there's a lot, like a lot of, there was at some point many pictures of my mom and my tia getting drunk and singing because my tia owned a restaurant at one point, and it was like a not an adult restaurant, but I mean it was. I don't recall ever really seeing any other children there except for hers and my mom's. It was like a nightclub kind of restaurant. There was a stage and there was a bar and people went there to drink, and there was food too. And there was many pictures of my mom and my dad drinking and singing to Selena on stage, and like just a great time from what it looked like in the picture. Excuse me, oh my goodness. And anyways, when my when I went to go live with my tia, me and my sister, I went into sophomore year in high school in Buckeye, Arizona. I was a good kid, dude. I mean, I only ever had two best friends in my life. Okay, and since I'm saying that, I do want to say because I was thinking to myself earlier, and I feel like it needs to be said because it's coming up again. So, let me just say what my perspective is on friendship. If you don't feel love, if there's somebody in your life and you would call them a friend, or you don't really, or even if you've never really thought of a person as a friend, and even though you don't like really think about that kind of stuff, let me just say that a friend is only a friend if you feel love for them and you want the best for them. That's how you know that they are your friend. Is if you feel a genuine desire, like if you genuinely want what's best for them, and or if you feel love for them for their existence in your life, and or vice versa, and I've had to I mean, I've had friends in between, friends that I mean, I love everybody. I mean, that's only something that I've just recently learned. But two friends, one in my childhood who I did not mention, her name was Maria. Her name is Maria, and she loved me as much as I loved her. Then I had another friend later on who I just love so much, and she loved me too, and she still does, and I still love her, and she's just so gorgeous and so cool, and she's so fucking. Oh my god, she's sexy as shit.